Live from Fort Worth, Texas, it's your host, Dr. Sheri Tomlin. And joining me today from North Carolina is the distinguished gentleman, my co-host, Mr. Kenneth Muhammad. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Glad to be back.
All right. And so let's check and make sure we are streaming live. Is there anyone available to check for us before we start our show today, our podcast today?
Okay.
And if you can hear
Let's
us,
see.
please invite your friends to join us on the Africa Rising podcast.
We're live.
So let's We are check and make live. sure we are streaming live. Is there? Okay,
Yeah, we are live.
so we'll mute our background. And welcome everyone to another episode of Africa Rising. Our special guest today is Queen to the World, Queen Ayasudabet, who's with us once again from West Africa, the Gambia to be specific. Welcome, Queen Ayasudabet.
Peace and love, give thanks and praises. How's everybody?
Welcome, Queen. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So welcome viewers once again, and happy new month to everyone. Sorry about my lighting today. I'm trying out a new background, but anyway, we're here to explore the intersections of culture, health, and entrepreneurship across the African continent and its diaspora. So again, I'm your humble host, Dr. Sheri Tomlin, and I'm also a nurse doctor who is practicing in the field of psychiatry. And so I'm currently seeing patients in Las Vegas, but for the past 7 months, I was doing that from Senegal, West Africa. Senegal is considered the gateway to Africa. And so I was there. It's a French country. And bonsoir, everybody. Bonsoir. That's good afternoon. And it's considered one of the nicest place to visit. So I hope everyone has a chance to at least visit Africa soon. And for me, it was a wonderful experience. And I want to thank my host, Adama, and her whole clan over there, Papa Mata, her children, Amina, Nabu. Everyone was wonderful. The Terenga, that's what they call hospitality in Senegal, was amazing. And I can't wait to get back, hopefully, but before the end of 2024. I'll be back in Senegal. So, a little more about me. I was born in Jamaica, West Indies. I left for America when I was about 5 years old, but I've always identified with the Jamaican culture, and I've always continued my culture and traditions. Of course, I had to go back every year to visit my grandpa in Jamaica. So, our upbringing was heavily African oriented. And as children, we were always encouraged to go back to Africa and to at least visit and to be engaged in our culture that stems from there. And so I joined the United States Army back in 1994, and my first deployment after basic training was Somalia. And so I ended up, in Somalia for several months. That was a great experience. I wanted to find a way to get to Africa, and that was the way God had planned for me. I'll tell you more about that story. Maybe I'll upload a video about my experiences there, but it was not a great place to be at the time because it was a war-torn country, but the relationships that I was able to form, it's priceless. And so I wrote a book about it. It's called Rapid Deployment years ago, and I'll probably work on it, improve it, and try to upload that again. So yeah, I've been to Somalia, Kenya, Nigeria, Egypt. We broke down in Egypt on our way to Somalia. So we spent a few days out there in the desert. Egypt is exactly how you would imagine it. Pyramids, people, the imam in the mosque in the desert, saying prayers. It's exactly what you see on TV, but the rest of Africa is not what you see on TV. So anyway, I've been to Senegal and the Gambia, of course. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about my background and my experiences. So I would like to continue to integrate my professional practice, culture, and experiences so that, I could develop my brand as well. But today, I'm thrilled to be joined by two incredible individuals who are also champions of a brighter future for Africa. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my co-host, my brother from another mother, Mr. Kenneth Muhammad, and also our special guest, Queen Ayasudabet from the Gambia. So let's start with my brother, Kenneth Muhammad, today. Mr. Kenneth Muhammad, let's start our discussion with a question for you.
All right.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All
Absolutely.
right.
Yes.
It's not 20 questions. It's just two. Okay, two from me
Sure.
and two from our fabulous Queen Ayasudabet. So my
Okay.
first question is, okay, you're on board with our initiatives that will bridge culture, health, and entrepreneurship in Africa. How did your military experience, I always call you the master and commander, you were a quartermaster in the Navy. So as an officer and as a quartermaster, how does that prepare you for such a time as this?
Wow, great question. Kenneth Muhammad here, and thank you, Dr. Tomlin, for having me as your co-host and a champion. I'm going to try to live up to that by God's grace and mercy. Um, so I joined the Navy, and math was my favorite subject. And so when I went to boot camp and scored high on the math thing, they gave me a job as a quartermaster. I knew nothing about quartermastering. But basically, quartermaster in the Navy is the one who does the navigation. Get out the different charts, like you get out maps, road atlas on the earth, on the dirt. They're called charts on the water. And using my compass and protractor and doing the measurements and learning the heights of the waves, the currents, the weather, all those played into navigating across the ocean, since they don't have stoplights and signs and things like that. We use satellite tracking. So it is definitely it's a water world versus the earth world. How did that prepare me for what I'm doing now? I really like that question, because as a quartermaster and navigator, and I was enlisted, I wasn't an officer. However, the officers depended on the information that I gave them so that they can do their job. But as an enlisted quartermaster, I had to pay attention. I had to pay attention to the movement of the ship. I had to pay attention to if we saw seagulls, then we knew we was close to land, because the birds don't come that far out from land. And I'm paying attention to my charts as well. I had to pay attention to the positioning of the ship, meaning that we could be going in a straight line, but then drifting to the left or drifting to the right. And so we had to make compensation and tell the actual person that's holding the steering wheel of the ship to left rudder 10 degrees. And this whole 360 degree planet Earth that we're on, so to get us to stay on course and to compensate for the current that's pushing us a different way. So now, how does that apply to the rising of Africa? Paying attention, doing more listening and less talking, until it's time to take all the data that I've heard and plot a course with it, of where we should start. Now, part of the thing as a quartermaster, I only drove the ship during critical times. Out in the open sea, there's nothing to hit but waves. But when you're coming into the port, or going through a canal, or going through the Straits of Gibraltar, going into the Mediterranean Sea from the Atlantic Ocean, it takes specialized navigation. And that's what I was trained for in the Navy, to take over the wheel when it's time to go inside close to land. Or even when we had to get supplies, because we may be out at sea for 30, 60 days, 90 days. So we may have to get supplies like washing powder, food, all this stuff, because there's no grocery store to stop in the Atlantic Ocean to pick up supplies. So there would be another ship called a tender that would be full of supplies. That's all their job was, to keep the supplies. So we would have to pull up beside another ship, throw a line across, shoot a line across, pull a rope across, and then the supplies, they would put the supplies on this this hanging piece and slide it over to the ship. And that's how we receive supplies. So you're talking, you're talking maybe, I think we had maybe like 2,000 sailors on my ship, but this big ship, they probably had 8,000, 10,000 on their ship. And we're riding side by side, like you pull up at a stoplight and there's a car right beside you. That's how close we're. Maybe not that close, but close enough to collide and sink both ships. Now, the big ship is creating bigger waves besides the natural waves that's out in the ocean. So the smaller ship that I was on, we're just bouncing up and down, riding these bigger waves that this ship is creating. So you need someone that knows what they're doing on the wheel.
So
and again, I'm paying attention.
So
without
any, any more details about it, you are trained to do critical thinking. It sounds like this is like,
yes,
that's
yes,
part of your training.
yes, very much so. And not even critical thinking, but also creative thinking. And I'll share this. When the waves are coming towards you, it's easier to navigate the ship because it's coming towards the rudder that turns the ship, which is in the back. But when the waves are coming behind you, you really don't have a rudder to steer with. So the only thing I could use then is I looked at the tension in the line. And when the tension in the line was loose, I knew to stay away from the ship to keep the tension tight. When the tension was too tight, I knew to come back to keep it so the line won't break. So you just have to be creative. You have the connection. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, speaking of connection, it could be your wife.
Right. But there was times where you really have to be creative in your thinking as well as critical in your thinking. And you can't think twice about it. You just do it and make the correction if necessary. So even with Rising of Africa, you really got to think on it. And I'm glad you asked that question, because everything starts in the mind. The very first thing that's created in a woman's womb when she becomes pregnant is the brain. That's first. The brain is billions of cells. and that is what starts activating thinking before they even shoulders, arms, nose, is the brain, and it's working. So it really is going to take some thinking to Africa rising. That would be my question. That would be my answer. I'm sorry.
So I'm, hearing you say that, I'm thinking, you know, association, because people and things we're associated with will either help to, further our progress or keep us stagnant. So we know what keeps us stagnant by now. So we won't be going back to certain practices and, things that we know doesn't work. So now we are associated with, let's say we're starting this grassroots movement. We have Brother Kenneth, who has military experience. He has successfully brought 2,000 sailors back from the sea. Some, I wouldn't even go out there. But anyway, I thought it was 200 of y'all on that boat, but 2,000, this is breaking news, so yeah, so you kind of know a little bit, maybe a lot about navigation in life and out at sea. So this is, I don't know, amazing. I feel this is Amazing. But my next question before we go to Queen Isudabeth is, what drives you to keep pushing forward, Brother Kenneth?
Say that one more time. What's the question?
What drives you to keep pushing forward?
Well, you gave your introduction of yourself and your background. And what drives me to keep pushing forward is seeking knowledge. I want to know why. And the why then gives you understanding. Without the why, you just know, but you don't know why. So, the why to me is the fuel that keeps me going to determine what's my next move now that I know why that's happening. Without the why, you're lost. You're just like a hamster in a wheel, just keep running in circles, and you don't know why. I learned that from the movie Matrix. Mm-hmm. When you find out the why, you're free to go and free yourself.
And they always say knowledge is power, right? So
right, knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. Understanding is the conductor of the power.
It's deep.
Knowledge is power, but knowing how to use that power will become understanding then. So that's why the scriptures say, with all that getting, get understanding. Knowledge is the principle, but understanding, you'll be able to use that.
That's deep. Queen Isudabeth, do you have a question for our brother Kenneth Muhammad at this time?
Really, I'm just so into what he just finished saying, because I do sailing, and so I just went so deep into where he was going. I'm just now getting back to the helm.
The helm, that's great.
And so really, I just am happy to hear what he's saying. I agree with what he had. I more want to just comply rather than ask a question. And that is, you have to pay attention. And I agree with that. You have to pay attention, and you have to gather the information that you paid attention to see where to go next. I mean, we've already started, so exactly. It's not about starting, but where we're going next, or how we can best use the information to go forward, to proceed. So I thought that was really poignant and powerful, and I'm happy to have a part in this and participate, but to have him on board as a guide, it's really powerful. Thank you, Kenneth, for that excellent explanation.
That's why.
Thank you.
That's why Brother Kenneth is my co-host. He's so great. This. And since then, I've grown because we need that male energy. A lot of us, right? A lot of us females are working in our female energy and the male energy, and it's just a lot easier. Life is, and we pick up a lot of things, and we are able to change when that male energy is also around. So, yeah, thank you for being a great leader. Thank you for your service in the United States military. Thank God you are still with us, because, many people don't make it through. So that's a testament to, the way our God has preserved you. And now you're here to do more, than just that. Even though that was a big deal, but those skills and tools strategies and, everything that you learned and, you can now use to uplift others, inspire others, and make changes where it needs to be. You've made changes in my life, whether you know it or not. So
Praise God. Thank you.
I know others who are watching us are going to be blessed as well. And speaking of blessings, another big blessing in my life is Queen Isudabeth. Before we ask you to introduce yourself, Queen, could I please play your video, a little bit of your video?
Oh, fine. That's wonderful. Thank you.
For our viewers. All right. So here we go. Okay.
Africa, wake up. Africa, shake up. Africa, wake up. I'm Queen Ayasuza from Queen to the World LLC, here with G Star Network. Africa, wake up, wake up. 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 And I'm
Ooh, the voice. Wow. Queen Ayasuda Bet.
Beautiful voice.
You
thank
have,
you. Thanks and praise.
you have a
I really
gift.
love that song. I really like all of that energy. Yeah, the vibe on that one.
Give thanks and praises. Me too. I love it.
So,
I'm inspired.
Queen Ayasuda Bet, your work is encompassing wellness, African culture, entrepreneurship, and this is vital to your vision. So, how do you believe your initiatives in Africa will contribute to the economic empowerment in Africa and, the communities around the world, the African communities?
Okay, that's an excellent question. The answer is simple and brief. Food has been the weapon used to control the whole world. When you put chemicals in food, when you take it away from its natural state of being, allowing it to ferment in the time it's supposed to ferment, after 2 or 3 or 4 days, it starts to rot. When you take it out of that state and put it into a state where it doesn't ferment at all, it means you've done something to the plant, you've done something to its roots, you've done something to the soil, and what you have done negatively affects the insects, negatively affects the pollinating process, which is what we need to have oxygen. And so when you do this, you bring stagnant matter into the atmosphere, you hurt the person who's eating it. You degrade or lessen their power to think, to create, their ability to move, their ability to coordinate, their ability to stabilize themselves, their equilibrium. Everything starts to go the opposite direction of its natural order. So in my mind, you need to bring into focus for people to see what it is you're eating and why you should stop eating all packaged foods, all GMO, genetically modified organisms, all bioengineered foods. Grow your own food and eat what you grow. This is paramount to everything that will get Africa back on its feet. When I see what's going on in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Ghana, Nigeria, countries that are now using genetically modified organisms, I say, who's talking to them or not talking to them? Where do they think this is going to help their people? It's not. It's not going to help them at all.
So the people has to rise up basically and say, we're not having it, speak truth.
Well, and the question you asked me, I don't think it's just the people rising up. What has to happen is people have to change. Rising up and you're still eating the food, it's not going anywhere. They're rising up right now in Nigeria, in Lagos. Okay, in Nigeria, they're rising up. However, their rising up is not getting the message across. People are rising up to things they disagree with all over the world, but until you stop eating poison, you're not going anywhere. It's like you're going around in circles. You have to stop eating the food that's killing you so that you will be able to see things clearer. Last week or week before last, Brother Muhammad, Kenneth started talking about a clean glass of water versus a dirty glass. If you put water in a clear glass, in a glass that's clear versus a glass that's dark, you can see what's in the water. Well, that's what this is about. If you put the right food in the human body, you're going to see what's in the world. And people are not seeing.
Right.
People are not seeing at all. This is the age of awakening.
Right.
This means everybody is waking up all over the world. Not every single body, but millions and billions of people are waking up and saying, oh, that's wrong. That was a secret for 6,000 years. It's no longer a secret. This was a secret for billions of years, millions of years. It's no longer a secret. That's what is happening. You have people like Bill Carson and Mr. Howard. I can't think of his first name right now, but they are scientists who have been able to prove 1 times 1 is not 1. Well, this is 6,000 years of math that has been misleading to people. But children in school knew that 1 times 1 could never be 1 because 1 multiplying means to make more of. So how can 1 times 1 be the same number? Key questions are now getting answers. So in view of what you're asking me, in my mind, it's about health, getting people to do self-care, self-health care. Look in the mirror, look at yourself, look at your skin. Is your skin breaking out? That's the body talking. When you go to the toilet, are you staying a long time? Are you straining? That's the body talking. Do you have dark circles under your eyes? That's the body talking. Okay, are your eyes getting blurry? That's the body talking. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with your eyes. It means there's something going into the blood cell that's not healthy. And the eyes is the vehicle for where you're going to see that it's not healthy. So in my mind, if you want to revolutionize the place, if you want people to come together in oneness, if you want things to change and actually rise Africa, we're going to have to change the way we eat, what we eat, and stop importing food from America and the West. Europe doesn't import food from America. Why? Because they know it's not real food. It's banned.
Now, Queen,
It's only Africa doing this ridiculous mess.
Right.
That food is not good.
I agree with you. However, 2 things. Number one, certain things that people will do in Africa, just because it worked in America, it might not work in Africa. The way you go about, protests, maybe that's not for you. Maybe you should boycott instead. There's other ways you could try, but if you keep trying this one way and it's not getting the attention of the government, then, maybe try something else instead of keep doing that, and people are dying. Your 1 week of protests might cause 1 million people more to be in poverty. I mean, it's not working, right? So try another. This doesn't work for your country. Try something different. The second point is, a lot of people do want to grow their own food in Africa, but there's certain governments who have made agreements with certain corporations and manufacturers of illness where if they try to do that, they will take them out, okay? You cannot grow your own food because you have contracts with these big corporations. So it's not because our people is not trying to do that, but they have a system set up in Africa. We are coming out of a system in America that we know, the both of us, Brother Kenneth too, we know it's toxic. We know it's costing people's lives, right? And their mental health and well-being. So they're walking around being crazy. Some people, they're being called stupid. Some people, they're being called mentally challenged and mentally ill, and they're really not. Okay, it's the diet. It's the air, the toxicity of the air, the water, the food, all of that. So I'm just here to say, coming from Africa recently, this is what I was discovering. A lot of people do want to, on a large scale, right, grow different products. Let's say tomatoes. If they try it, okay, there's those who will come after them. So I'll let you continue, and then I would like you to introduce yourself to our viewers because that's where I should have started.
Peace and love. I just want to say that kind of got misdirected in my point because I didn't mention anything about what I thought America does versus what Africa does. I just was saying,
No,
in
I'm
my
saying
view,
you said
in terms of answering your question.
you said something about the protest. So I was just
No, you brought it up. You brought it up.
so I'm just stating, yeah, it doesn't work there. So and
No,
that
but you brought it to my. I didn't. I
I'm
didn't
not
bring it
saying,
up.
no, I'm not saying this was your something you mentioned. I wanted to mention that personally because I've been thinking about it all morning. This doesn't work for them. So try something else. I just want to put that out in the universe. So let me let you.
Okay. I'll go back to this, and what I wanted to say is this to you and Kenneth, and to the listening or watching audience. Your blood cells are very powerful. We are very, extremely very powerful individuals, human beings. The reason, when Kenneth said the response to your analogy of his answer to your question, he said he would like to know to know why things are the way they are. In my view, I would like to take it a step further. What is the reason for the why? Why is one thing. What's the reason for the why? The food is poisoned. That's why people are sick. But why is the food being poisoned? So a group of people can be in control. And this is what can change that. And it is changing. It might be a slow process. However, it's happening. And that is when you clean up the blood cells, you have power. You have unlimited power and access to the cosmic forces, to your divine and righteous ancestors. There are no limitations. You can start to do things with your mind. Why else would they put a person in jail in solitary confinement for 40 years? No sunlight. Fear of what that connection to the sun will do. Fear of what that connection, those brain cells, that DNA will do once sunlight hits it. So you're in Africa where there's a whole lot of sun, and you start to clean up. They won't be able to control you. They won't be able to keep in place these laws that these bargains they've made, these sellouts they've made with other countries. Okay, that's all going to change. That's what the reality of cleansing does. A person who's homeless or who's not homeless but doesn't bathe, hasn't bathed in a long time, just in the house, depressed, sick, can't even think of going to the bathroom and take off the clothes they had on for 3 months. That happens. I've seen it. They smell. However, when something clicks in that brain that shows them they need to take a bath, they smell different. They look different. They think differently. That's all I'm going to say. It's about Africa and the rest of the world. Once people on the planet Earth start to clean up from inside out, everything is going to change, and they will see it's paradise. And they will use their brains, their blood cells, to put a stop to anything without screaming, without guns, any of that. This is what the opposition to us, the people, what is happening, what they know about us, is that we have the power to do these things without fighting, just with our minds. That's why it's so important for them to control our minds. Because once that mind wakes up, as the old people say, the cake's all dough. Peace and love.
Beautiful.
I had 30 minutes, so I don't know if you all are going on, but
Beautiful. Well said, Queen. So please, before we have Brother Kenneth ask you his question for today's podcast, could you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
Okay, peace and love. It's getting dark here, as you can see the light change, because we're getting ready to have a big rain. So I'm going to have to go close my windows and everything. I'm going to be jumping off in about 5 minutes. So, Brother Kenneth, you can ask your question. Introduce myself. I'm Queen Ayasudabat, and I'm from the U.S. I was born in Washington, D.C., in a hospital for Blacks only during that time, because where my mother was initially going to give birth, they let her stay for about 11 hours, hoping that the baby would die. And when they assumed the baby was dead, when they tested the baby was dead, they told her she had to get out because they don't take Black people. So I'm a product of institutionalized racism, and I take that to heart. And because of that, she went to another hospital, and then I was born, and here I am, and I traveled in 4 continents, just doing just what I'm doing right now, and sharing and imparting knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, and power with other people, exchanging ideas, concepts, analogies, and really paying attention to what's happening, being very observant. I'm a musician, a singer. I play percussions. I'm an artist. I paint oil on canvas with heavy textures and crystals. I'm a writer. I'm a homeschool teacher. I changed my voice the other day on the radio. I just started talking about Marcus Garvey. When slaves were hauled across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, when many of us were abused without the notion, when so much across the Atlantic Ocean, our blood was shed, when many of us were left for dead. I just changed my voice, so I do a lot of things.
She has a range. Her voice has a range.
It's so beautiful, so beautiful.
Queen Ayasudabat. We love you. So, Brother Kenneth, before Queen has to jump off of the podcast, could you please?
Yes, I have one quick question for you, Queen. Your song, Africa Wake Up. My question to you is, give 2 or 3 things that you, in your opinion, that has been done to put Africa to sleep.
The major one,
question.
and thank you for that question, Brother Kenneth. In my view, and through my research and communication with other Africans and people who have studied and been to and in death regions of the continent, first of all, it is lies, just telling lies about our history, period, as a people. For example, my great-great-great-grandmother taught my mother that all of the people in the Americas were dark people. There was no such thing as a light-skinned Indian that you have today. They call the American Indian. They robbed the dark people because that map, when you get the old map, you talk about maps that you study on the ocean, that original map had Africa and America as one. So all of these dark people were all over America. All these dark people were all over Asia, India, which is now India and China. So the essence, the foundation of those countries, that continent of Asia and the continent of Africa and the Western Hemisphere, the Northern Hemisphere in America were all dark people. They're the original Indians. Our people, we are the original Indians in America, not the American Indian. They stole our culture, they stole our way of life, they stole everything about us. So all the lies that have been told is going to be revealed right now while we're speaking. The second thing is, after you lied, you had to have something to control the people with the lies you told. That was religion. You gave them Islam and you gave them Christianity. And the third one is taking the tongue of Africans from all the different voices and dialects and cultures that African people had, that united them, that made them work together, that made the saying of it takes a village to raise a child. They don't do that anymore in Africa because it has been stripped from them to work together. It has been stripped from them not to be jealous and envious of each other. It has been stripped of them not to support one another. You can get these things from that tribe. You can get those things from that tribe. So you trade, you barter. These things have been taken away from Africans, and everything is look to the West. Wear a wig, wear a weave, wear hair, we wear false eyelashes, wear makeup, bleach your skin, get on a boat that you can't swim with your infant baby and go across the Mediterranean. What kind of psychology is that? It's all about the bombshell of betrayal that has been put between us to separate us and conquer us. The art of separation. So those are the three things. The lies about who we are, where we come from, our history. 2, the religions and disrespecting and destroying our culture. And 3, what we eat. That's what I think. Brother Kenneth, you knew this already in my mind. You just wanted me to say it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here we have.
It's like I said, just paying attention because it's listeners. Just double click to enter full screen mode.
Yeah, here we have Queen's talent on display. This is her artwork. What's the name of piece of art, Queen?
Okay, my art is called Queen's Cosmic Manifestations Art, featuring art that even the blind can see. As you look at it, all of my art is cosmic. Nothing in the art is from the earth. In my mind, we're not even from the earth as a people. We landed here. We came here from other places, other galaxies, and so, and other universes even. And this is a picture of how we have the power to ascend and move with just our minds. In our mind, we can put a road, a highway, a byway, a path, and then we can cross it. Here on this planet, we have to take a bath, get dressed, call a taxi or get in a car and drive. Everything is different. Everything is less than. Everything is depleted. Nothing is as high as it was where we come from. And so I'm painting the high. I'm taking the high road in my art.
It's beautiful. Okay, let's bring another one real quick. You could tell us about this one.
Okay, this is another example. This is actually a ship that consists of a complete city. And there are smaller ships, as you can see there, that travel long distances to other galaxies. Like here, we have taxis. We can take a taxi or a bus or an airplane. Here we have ships that cosmic beings, we call the cosmic generation, where I'm talking all of this. It's like it's live to me, but here it would be like a motion picture. But these are ships that travel and can take thousands of people at one time to another galaxy. So that's what you see here. Lots of windows. When Brother Kenneth talks about phrases from the Bible, it's in the Holy Quran. It's in all books that there are windows and doors. The Holy Quran says there's always more than one way to solve a problem. And so that's what those ships and doors represent. We're solving problems. We're in the business of problem solving. Okay. I wish I could enlarge. Oh yeah. Can you see that enlarged?
Yeah, no, this is the largest, the big,
Okay. I don't know how I enlarged it on my screen by just touching it. But this particular picture is
there we go, a little bit. Is that better?
Okay, you can see the details in it, and it has eyes, which we need to open our eyes. We see things, but we don't really see them. We look at things, we don't look through them. When you're clean, you can look through something. It's a big difference in looking at something and looking through it while you're watching it. This is a skill that we have from the cosmic generation that many of us, most of us, do not use. The ability to look through people. You wouldn't have to go through so much negativity and abrupt behavior, opposition, if you used your eyes to just look through people. You will see that they're not good for you or they're good for you. Instead, we have to go through trial and error. We have to have the experience, quote unquote. We have to find out, oh, he was bad for me or she was bad for me, when we can just look with our power and see that person's not good to be in your space.
All right. Outstanding work. One more before you go. I know it's.
Yeah, it's thundering.
One more. Sorry about that. Real quick.
Okay. This is another very colossal ship that actually can take many of these smaller cities around it, inside of it. Like you see that mouth, that's the entrance point of the ship. And around it are, like you can see that's water, and there are thousands of people there. I notice in all my paintings, everybody is fully clothed, head wraps and other things, and they're traveling. Everybody's traveling. It's different types of plants and creatures on the planet. Everything's very colorful, bright, and alive. So there's a lot of energy in the work. And everything is about the cosmos. Everything's constantly moving, a very high and powerful energy. Very powerful energy. Everything's always in motion. So this is what my art is about.
Very beautiful work. And
thank you for showing it.
This is our queen. You made this outfit, queen? I should have been.
Yes, I sew by hand, needle and thread. So I don't really know how to sew. The bottom part you see is really laid out. It's about 5 yards, and I wrap it and make a pants so that I can run. I don't like tight clothes. I don't know why women wear clothes. Like I see the modern look. They don't think they'll ever be in danger. If they have to run for their lives, they'll be stuck. They'll get captured because the clothes are too tight. They can't run. The heels are too high. You have to take your shoes off, and that takes time. So I just think people need to think more about, being on the defense sometimes, as well as the offense. So you dress according to where you're living, not just the weather, but also how you can move quickly. We're in the danger zone right now. We're in spiritual warfare. We need to think about dressing appropriately. What is applicable to getting us to another place quicker than a tight dress, or a dress that has a lot of holes in it, or a dress that's on the ground, dragging on the street while you're walking and you have to run. You're going to trip up and fall and hurt yourself. So all these things I think about when I'm sewing by hand. It's raining. I have to go. Yes, thank you for having me.
Joining us.
Thank you, Queen.
Yes. All right.
Peace and love. Have a beautiful week.
Yes.
Remember to pray a lot and keep smiling.